When analyzing a film, we instantly think that going through the script is the best option, sorting out the plot points, breaking the story in different acts, or understanding the opposite forces that the film presents to build a conflict. Another way could be the analysis of the director's decisions regarding mise-en-scene. However, the path we would like to take in this video relies on identifying and analyzing the main themes of a movie. In this case, Top Gun Maverick. It's important to discover what are the themes of the movie, what is the subtext of the plot. In fact, every story has at least one topic or theme, and these are introduced in the script to deepen the ideas of the story and not just be a random chain of events. In the case of Top Gun Maverick, Course of Time, or simply Getting Old, can be quickly identified as the main theme of the film. Another insight could be guiltiness. The guilt that Maverick feels for pulling away Rooster's papers, preventing him from fulfilling his dream of becoming a command pilot, pushed by a previous guilty act in the past, where Maverick felt responsible for the death of his friend Goose, father of his newly student, Rooster. But the theme that injures us the most is the constant battle of the man versus the machine. These forces are going to clash throughout the entire movie. In almost every scene, this struggle is dramatized, to a greater or lesser extent. After taking an enormous risk by surpassing the jet's speed limit and destroying it in the process, Ed Harris's character, Admiral Kane, has a meeting with Maverick in which he tells him that he could be easily replaced by drones, as we heard a few scenes before.
One day, sooner than later, they won't need pilots at all.
As we can see, this struggle starts right at the beginning. When authors establish such strong themes that involve two sides, it's important that each individual force is personified. That's why in this scene, the technology over human mentality is represented by Kane, and in the following scene, John Hamm's Cyclone is now who embodies this force. Let's not pass this by. To strengthen the theme of the movie, the different forces have to evolve, thus being represented by different characters. And also, this theme has been present in lots of films in the past. Let's go for a while to film history. As it is known, both the Terminator and the Terminator 2 deeply examine this subject. Skynet, an artificial intelligence system, rebels against men, putting humanity at risk. Following James Cameron's filmography, we got Titanic, a film in which the most luxurious and extravagant artifact finally hits an iceberg, but the strongest thing that prevails in the film is the selfless love that the main characters have for each other. However, this theme has been a constant throughout the entire film history. Let's go to the beginning. In the short film, The Lonely Villa, directed by D.W. Griffith in 1909, a robbery is taking place while the father of the family is in town, away from home. Looking for help, the family tries to call him with the recently invented telephone, but it doesn't work properly. When he tries to go back to his house, the car in which he is traveling breaks down, forcing him to run home to rescue his family. It's important to understand that these two technological advances, obviously new at the moment, fail in crucial moments of the story. Again, and even in the earliest stages of film and industrial history, this is a key theme. Going back to today's film, when Maverick is introduced to the mission, he notices that one of the pilots is no one else than Rooster, son of his old friend Goose. It's curious how, as we said before, the pro-technology mentality embodied by Cyclone pretends that Maverick trains a group of pilots for a knowingly impossible mission while being affected by a personal situation. As if the reasoning was that the human factor will be the main cause of the mission's failure, thus giving an excellent excuse to Admiral Kane to finally shut the program. However, as we will see in the film, the human factor is the key to accomplish the objective. In fact, as we can see in this scene,
you have less than 3 weeks to teach them how to fight as a team
and how to come home, sir.
Every mission has its risks.
According to such mentality, the pilots' lives are a disposable factor for the mission. So, the strategy of Maverick will be the following. Get rid of all the manuals, instructions or rules of flying and work the instinct, and push the human limits of the pilots. This reminds us of the films of another director who follows the thematic line we had previously mentioned, the struggle between man and machine, Peter Weir. In his film Dead Poets Society from 1988, Robin Williams' character, John Keating, starts working in the orthodox, strict Welton Academy as a poetry teacher. To really understand the genre and to push his students to start writing poems, he tries all sorts of unorthodox methods to do so. There are 3 scenes in this movie that can be compared to Kosinski's Top Gun Maverick. The first one is when Keating asks one of his students to tear out the pages of the poetry manual. The same thing happens in Top Gun Maverick, when the protagonist throws away the instructions of the F-18 aircraft. Then, Keating proposes a soccer game in which they have to take penalty kicks while reading a poem, similar to what happens when Maverick, away from the training tracks, organizes an American football game. And finally, and this is an important detail, there's a key scene in Dead Poets Society where one of the main students has to recite his own poetry, but with his eyes covered. Something brief, but very comparable, happens in Top Gun Maverick when Pete arrives at the bar and sees Hangman throw into the bullseye even while his partner is covering his eyes. Look at how Maverick's face changes when he sees this. At that moment, he understands that he sees potential in his students despite the suicidal mission assigned to them. Following up on Peter Weir's filmography, we can easily identify a common thing between one of his most famous films, The Truman Show, and Top Gun Maverick. They share the same actor, Ed Harris. If we compare both films, we can conclude that the same actor in both movies tries to completely discard the human factor and depersonalize any kind of interaction. However, when the 2 characters opposed to Ed Harris finally find a human crevice, a sensation stripped of any kind of artificiality, the movie starts to unravel. Human takes over the machine. When a theme in a movie is so important, it can be seen in even the smallest details, as we saw earlier with the dart scene. There is another scene in the same location with the same protagonist, Hangman. He meets his rival, Rooster, and tells him that for this mission he needs to be quick or he'll be left behind. Instantly, Slow Ride starts playing on the jukebox.
I love this song.
Which will directly contrast with the song Great Balls of Fire that Rooster plays on the piano. Notice the difference between the 2 situations. In the first one, it is an individualistic confrontation on the part of Hangman, accompanied by a machine, the jukebox. In the other, however, we have the whole bar singing along with Rooster to the same song that we had heard, of course, in the 1986 Top Gun, played by the very hands of Goose's son. In the most important part of the movie, when the mission is finally carried out, there is a key moment to understand the theme and also the whole film. After successfully achieving the first of the 2 miracles, Rooster must shoot the hole containing the hidden uranium to complete the mission. However, the automatic laser unexpectedly breaks down. Does it remind you of something? Yes, a movie from 2022 repeats the same thematic pattern as a movie from 1909, showing that the same theme can prevail over time, and it is cinema itself that keeps this discussion alive. Rooster must then manually shoot, almost blindly, without ever having trained for that before. Again, almost blindly, as we had seen before in the examples of the darts and Dead Poets Society. Finally, and to close this circle of man versus machine, at the end of the movie, Rooster has to take a decision. He is the true apprentice and axis of the film, therefore being the key to understand the political stance of the film. After the mission is completed, it seems that Maverick has been injured and his jet has disappeared. There, he has the possibility to follow Cyclone's mentality and discard a life for the sake of the mission, or to go and rescue the leader of his squadron, making an extra effort but putting the mission at risk. And that's when he decides. As we said in this video, it is not enough to just introduce a theme in the film. At some point, the forces that represent each side of the man versus machine must collide, and therefore decide which one will weigh more on the balance of the plot, deepening the story and the themes that were developed. Well, that's it for today, and see you next time on C-Cinema.
Maybe so, sir. But not today.
If you like the video, please comment, like and subscribe.